So okay, so first of all, thank you very much for liking my videos. And if you haven't tapped on that like button, do tap it now. Okay, so let's move on that code.org platform. So in the previous lecture, we guys were working on this students teacher app. Okay, and we were done with defining the code of this submit button, and besides we were also done with defining the code of these two buttons, next and previous button, with which this teacher can navigate in between the records which are going to get saved in this answers named table when the student will submit his answer by hitting this submit button, okay, for the question broadcasted by the teacher. Okay, now how can this teacher give marks to these students? That's what we are going to check out now. So if I'll run this app on this mobile simulator screen, and here if I will enter teacher in these two fields, so it is going to redirect me on this teachers panel. Fine. So what was the question I gave to the students recently? It was this question, right? So let's copy this from here and I'm going to paste it over here. Fine. Now if I will hit this get the answer button, let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so here Nivi's name is getting reflected and she replied to this question with this answer, right? So this answer is also getting visible to us over here. Now I would like this teacher to give her some score based on the answer with which she has responded to the question given by her. So in order to do that, he can write down the score over here, and then when she will hit the submit button, I would like again a table like structure to get created on the data browser, where the name of this name of the student is going to get saved, as well as the score which this teacher has given to the student should also get saved in that table. So for doing that, what we can do, we can come on this coding panel and let's define the code for this submit button, which is getting reflected right in the bottom on this teacher's dashboard. Okay, and for this I'm going to make use of this uneven block. Let's put it right in the bottom, and now the ID of this button is button 3, so we need to select button 3 over here. Either you can manually type this or you can change it into block based coding, and after that you can make the required selection from the drop down which is going to appear when you'll hit this first drop down. So it is completely your call. If you want to do it like this, you can make use of this beautiful cascading menu for selecting the ID of this button, which is button 3. So here also you'll be able to see that ID. Yes, this is the one. Okay, now when this teacher will hit the submit button, so whatever student's name is at that time, whatever student's name is going to get reflected over here, I would like that name along with the score that this teacher has given to her or him should get saved in a table like structure. So for doing that, we can make use of this create record blocks. Hope you guys know very well about this block, that we generally make use of this block when we want to create a table on the data browser. And remember this thing, this data browser is acting as a server for us. Okay, you must have heard about .NET. It's in OOPS language, object oriented programming language. So if you want to integrate a data browser facility to that OOPS platform .NET, so what you guys have to do, you guys have to install MS SQL Server on your device. So right now this data browser is working as an MS SQL Server for this application that we are creating. This is front end and this is back end. There are two things, front end and back end. Front end is the one on which we design everything. and backend is the thing on which we save everything. Okay, so right now, on this code.org platform, this facility is available to us. Data browser is already connected to this, mobile simulator on which we are designing, and here we are writing down the code. So this is the front end part, and this data browser is the back end part on which everything is getting saved. Fine, so it is acting as a server for us. Remember these terms. Okay, let's come back on this coding part. So a table with name result, okay, should get created on the data browser when the teacher will hit this submit button. And in this I would like to save the name of the student and the score the teacher has given to this student for the answer he has replied with to this question over here. Okay, so for that, let's, from where can we get the value for this field name? We can get it easily from this label box, the ID of which is student. So I'm going to place student in between these two double inverted commas. And from where can we get the value of this score part? We can get it easily from this text area, the ID of which is answered. Okay, so now once the teacher is done with giving a score to this student, I would like whatever the teacher has written over here, it should go disappear. So how can we do that? We can pass a null value for the text property of this input box, and because the teacher is going to enter a number over here, right? So instead of making use of this get text, we can make use of get number property. Okay, it is more relevant. Fine, now whatever the teacher is going to write down over here, I would like that to go disappear. So for doing that, we can make use of this set text property, which you can easily find in the UI controls panel of the toolbox. This is the one I'm talking about. Let's place it inside this on event block. Now the ID of this is total. Okay, and besides this one, I need to replace it with total, because the teacher will be entering the number, the score over here. So for this field, we can get the input from this particular input box. Fine. Now let's replace the text of the total with a null value, or you can also get it replaced with something like score. Fine. Okay, so we are done with defining the required code for this submit button. Now let's come on the students panel. How this student is going to check his score, or you can say if suppose we want the student, if we want to give the result in the form of a graph to the students who have attempted the question given by the teacher. So how can we do that? So there is a button which I have placed right in the bottom of this students panel. The idea of this button is button 8. So I would like that if the student want to check the scorecard, he will hit this button, and automatically he should get redirected on this screen 1 where there is a chart component I have defined. Fine. Now here he should see the scores in the form of a graph. So how can we code this thing? That's what we are going to check out now. So let's make use of this on event block first. Fine. Now as you guys know that the ID of this button is button 8, so we need to replace this ID with button 8 first. Okay, now the result is getting saved in this result name table, right? So we would like to pull the records from this result named table. How can we do that? For doing that, we can come down, we need to come on this data tab of this toolbox, and let's make use of this read records block. Absolutely right. So this block we generally make use of for fetching the records from a particular table present on the data browser connected to this front end, okay, or mobile simulator. Now I'm going to replace this my table with result. Like this we can do it. Let's eliminate everything whatever is written inside this for loop. Okay, now what all information we need to fetch, that's what we guys have to check. So I would like to fetch, okay, and because we want the uh, the information to get reflected in the form of a graph. So instead of making use of this read records block, how about if we can directly make use of this draw chart from records block? Let's do that. Let's eliminate this whole thing and make use of this draw chart from records. So this block is generally used when you want to fetch the records from a table and get the same represented in the form of a graph. If you want to represent some record which is present in a table which is there on the data browser in the form of a graph, then you can make use of this draw chart from records block, which you can easily find in the data part of the toolbox. Now here, now the ID of this chart which is there on this screen one, it is chart 1. So in this first part I need to mention the ID of the chart which is there on this screen 1, and what kind of chart you would like to see. So I would like to see a bar kind of chart over here. And besides, from which table would you like to fetch the records? So I would like to pull the records from this table named result, which is going to get created when the teacher will hit the submit button present on her dashboard. And what all things would you like to fetch the information for? So I would like to fetch the information for the name field and for the score field. So let's replace this first column with the name of the first column that is going to get created in this results name table, and this column 2 with the name of this second column. Okay, now let's see whether this code is going to give us the desired output or not. So first of all, I'm going to come on this data tab and let's delete the answers and questions tables which are already there on the data browser. Now I am going to run this app on 4 different browsers. So this is the first one. Let's open 3 more browsers, sorry. So you guys have to assume that as if it is a second device on which I am going to access this app. Okay, let's open another browser and let's open one more browser. Fine, so now as you can see, this app I am currently running on 4 different devices. So on this first one, I'm going to access the teachers panel by writing teacher over here in these 2 fields.
Hello teacher.
Fine, and at present there is no table present on the data browser. Okay, here I am going to access the students panel. Let's do that.
Hello student. Your dashboard is ready.
Okay, I think I need to get this link again. Okay. Here also I'm going to access the students panel. Fine.
Hello student. Your dashboard is ready.
Okay, so currently I'm accessing students panel on these 3 different devices and the teachers panel on this mobile simulator. Okay, let's now give a question to these 3 students. What in how many ways can we access the style sheets in an HTML document. So as you guys know, there are basically in a HTML document. Fine, so this is a question. Let's hit this in button. Okay, so as you can see, a table with name questions has got created on the data browser, and inside this the question is also there, which I mentioned on this green board. Let's come on that students panels. So these are three different students panels. I'm going to hit these label boxes in order to fetch the questions on these panels. Okay, so the question is visible to us on all these three panels. Let's write down a name over here. So I'm writing down my own name, Gaurav Jain. So what are the in how many ways can we access the style sheets in HTML document? So there are in three different ways. So what are those three different ways? Internal, then inline, and external. Right, so these are three different ways in which we can access the cascading style sheets in an HTML document. Let's hit the submit button for submitting the answer. Okay, so Gaurav is done with submitting the answer. Fine, let's come on this dashboard and write down a name over here. So this is the second student, okay, named Anubhav Jain, who would like to submit his response for this question given by the teacher. So there are three methods. Fine. So he has not mentioned the name of the methods. He has just written down the number of methods in which we can access these style sheets. Anubhav is also done with submitting his response for the question given by the teacher. Let's now come on this third panel. Vikrant, Jain, and so he is going to respond with this 3. He is also done with submitting his response. Let's now come on the teacher's dashboard and see what is going to happen. So I'm going to hit this get the answer button.
Here is the response.
So as you can see, Vikrant's name and his response is visible to us over here. Okay, his answer is also visible to us over here. Let's give a score to Vikrant. So I'm going to give, let's say, 45 out of 100. So as soon as the teacher will hit the submit button, let's see what is going to happen. So as you can see, a table with theme result has got created over here, inside which the Vikrant's name is there and his score is also getting reflected. Right, let's make use of these next and previous button for fetching the inputs made by the other students. So Gaurav responded with this answer. Okay, I'm going to give 100 out of 100 to Gaurav just because not only he has mentioned the number of methods, but also he has written down the names of all three methods with which we can access the style sheets on any HTML document. So let's hit the submit button. Okay, I'm done with giving the score to Gaurav. Let's now hit this next button again. So here is Anubhav's response. There are three methods. Let's give him a score. I'm going to give him 68. Okay, 68. Let's hit the submit button. Okay, so as you can see, I'm done with, the teacher is done with giving the scores to all these three students over here. Now, how these students can check the result? That's what we are going to see. So, these students just have to hit this get result button and the result will be visible to them. But before that, we haven't mentioned one thing. That is, in this code that we have defined over here for this button 8, we haven't mentioned the code with which we can redirect the user on this screen 1. Okay, because if suppose this student will hit this get result button, definitely the result is going to get visible over here on this chart component in the form of a graph. But how the student will come on this screen? So for that we need to define this code over here. right in the bottom, with which we can redirect this student on screen 1, right? So let's do that. I'm hitting the share button. Fine. Now I'm going to refresh all these 3 screens. Let's see whether we'll be able to get the desired output on all these 3 dashboards or not, all these 3 panels or not. Why am I getting a blank screen? Okay, I think fine, this is a default screen. Let's refresh this code once. I think let's see whether we'll be able to access the sign in screen or not. Okay, why are we not able to access the sign in screen? The internet is perfectly fine, there is no network issue. Why is it so? Okay, it's because I defined it outside this bracket, so that is the reason we were not able to come on this sign in screen. Fine, now is it working? Now it is working fine. Let's make use of this link and access the app on these 3 browsers again. Okay, so I am on the sign in screen right now on all these 3 browsers. Fine, and here I'm going to access the students panel. Done. Done. Let's hit this get result button on this first
Your
panel.
dashboard is ready. Hello student. Your dashboard is ready.
So as you can see, the result is getting reflected over here in the form of a graph. Similarly, if you'll come over here and hit this get result button, you will be able to see the whole result in the form of a graph like this. Fine. Similarly, if you'll come on this third panel, you will be able to see the result in the form of a graph like this. Fine. So the code which we have defined in the workspace on code.org, it is working perfectly fine. Now let's do one thing. Let's come on this design panel and make this student dashboard the default screen. Fine, let's do that. So we can make it the default screen just by hitting this make default button, which is getting reflected in the workspace. Okay, now when you'll run this app, this is the first screen you're going to come across. Now I'm going to make some changes over here in this code that I've defined. Fine, now it's see, when you'll hit this get result button, so this is what you're going to come across, a chart, but the graph is getting reflected in blue color. The bars are of blue color. If suppose you want to change the color of this graph, can you do that? Is it possible? Is there any code with which you can do it? So let's check it out. See, what we can do, we can place a comma over here, and after that we can put 2 curly brackets like this. Inside these 2 curly brackets, we can make use of this property named color. Okay, and then we can place a colon. Then we need to pass a value for this color named property. So if we'll pass yellow, let's see what is going to happen. Will we still get a blue color graph or a yellow color graph? Okay, we are still getting a blue color graph. Why is it so? Is it not working fine? Let's make it colors. Okay, now it is coming in yellow. So the name of the property with which you can play with the color of these bars over here is colors. Remember this thing. Fine. So if you'll change it to red, this is what you are going to get as an output. Fine. So now the bars are of red color. Let's reset this app. Fine. Now instead of passing a hardcore value for this property, if suppose I want the user to select one of the colors from any of these drop downs over here, can we do that? Can we pass the value for this property over here from this drop down 3? Okay, can we connect this property with this drop down? Let's check it out. So first of all, I'm going to come on this design panel and let's see what all options do we have in this options part of this drop down 3 we have got on this students dashboard. So these are the various options: red color, then there is yellow, green, blue. Fine. If you want, you can define black also, black, then pink also you can define. Let's define orange 2 in this options part of drop down 3. Let's now come back on this coding panel. Now what you can do in order to pass the value for this field from this drop down 3, so what you can do, you just have to eliminate this thing from here and let's make use of this get text property. Okay, and what is the ID of this drop down? It is drop down 3. So let's convert it into block based coding and choose the ID of this drop down from this cascading menu. So it is drop down 3. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's run this app. So here is the students panel. Now I'm going to choose one of the colors from this beautiful cascading menu. Let's make use of black color. Okay, now let's hit this get result button and see what's gonna happen. What is the kind of chart we are going to come across? So it's a black color chart which is getting reflected right now. Okay, let's see if we'll select this pink color, what is going to happen. So it's a pink color chart which is getting reflected right now in front of you guys, right? So that's how you can make it more, that's how you can customize this field, okay, by connecting this property, or you can say field, to this drop down. Right now, if suppose you don't want to pass a hardcore value for this type part of this block. Okay, so what you can do, you can make it dependent on this drop down, the ID of which is charts. So I have defined the name of some charts over here in this options section of this drop down. So first is the bar chart, then it is pie. Okay, then you can define scatter, or let's make use of line. Fine. So now there are 4 different charts which are over here in this option section. Let's now connect this drop down to this part of the draw chart from records block. So for doing that, we just have to make use of this get text property and we can pass the ID of this drop down over here like this. Okay, now when you'll hit this run button, so the first thing that you have to do is you need to make the required selection from these 2 drop downs. So let's go for green, and from here I am going to choose scatter. Let's hit this get result button and see what kind of chart we are going to get. So it's a scatter chart which is getting reflected right now on this mobile simulator, right? Let's make use of orange color, and from here I am going to select line chart. So this is a line chart which is getting reflected right now on the mobile simulator, you know. So that's how you can make it more and more interactive. Right, now comes the last part. See, if suppose any student is visually impaired, so you guys can make use of play speech block, so that instead of reading the question, you can help that student in hearing that question which the teacher has given to the students to attempt. So how can you do that? the code that we have defined for this label box over here. Let's come on that code. So this is the idea of this play speech block. The idea of this label box is get questions. So this is the one, I think. Where is that? Get question. If you guys are enjoying the lecture, please do like the lecture and do share the link in your group so that more and more students can come and join the channel and enjoy these free coding classes on my channel. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so I'm going to make use of this play speech block. This is the one. Okay, and let's place it over here. Okay, now instead of passing a value in between these two double inverted commas, let's fetch the text for this play speech block from this label box. Or else what we can do, we can just copy this code from here, which is actually helping us in fetching the question from that questions named table, and we can place it over here. Right, now I'm going to delete everything whatever is there on this data browser connected to the app. Okay, and let's do one thing. First of all, I'm going to change the default screen to this sign in. Let's make the sign in screen the default screen, so that's how we can do it. Alright, now I am going to run this app. So for doing that, I need this link, and I'm going to run this app on two devices now. Fine, so this is the device on which there is a student, okay, who is visually impaired. Fine, so let's see whether we'll be able to help him out or not. Okay, and here I'm going to run this mobile app on this mobile simulator screen, and let's access the teachers panel.
Hello, teacher. Your dashboard
What
is ready.
is 45 minus 30, or sorry, what is the capital of India? Fine. So this is the question. Let's hit this send button.
You successfully sent.
So as you can see, a table with name questions has got created over here. Fine, let's see whether this student over here will be able to hear the question or not.
What is the capital of India?
So the student is able to hear the question in the form of speech. Right, now if you want to customize the form of speech, how can you do that? So instead of passing hardcore value for this field over here, you can make it dependent on this drop down which is there on this students panel right on the top. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to make this teachers students panel a default screen. Okay, and let's define the code for this label box now. So this is the one which we have in this workspace for this label box. Now I'm going to make some changes over here. So let's get the text for this part from this drop down, the idea of which is drop down one. Okay, so that's how you can make anything dependent on a particular input, or you can say component you have defined on this mobile simulator screen. So now there are two versions, one is male and second one is female. Let's now hit this run button and see what is going to happen. So if suppose a student want to hear the question in male version, or if you want to use male version for hearing the question, so he can select male from here. Let's hit this label box and see whether we'll be able to hear the question in a man's voice or not.
What is the capital of India?
Okay, so it is working perfectly fine.
What is the capital of India?
So that's how you can make this application more interactive. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Do like and share the video. If you have any doubt in your mind, you guys are most welcome to ask me the same now. I'm done with my part. And thank you very much to everyone who has joined the lecture and who is still there and listening to me. Okay, so okay, I think everything is clear to you guys. So in case you come across any issue while going through the lecture, or whenever you'll try it practically, if you come across any issue, you can share the same with me in the comment box. I will definitely try to resolve each and every issue you're going to tell me. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye bye.